All right, y'all. We're back here on TSP, trying to bring some content to y'all. As you guys already know, this is the place to go for the cold truths and the hard and the hot takes. Truths, hot takes, right here on TSP. Something that just came across my my Twitter timeline caused us to get into a little bit of a fact-finding mission. It turns out that asylum applicants from Venezuela that were tricked into flying to Martha's Vineyard have filed a class action lawsuit against Ron DeSantis, multiple Florida officials, and agencies, and they filed this lawsuit in federal court in Boston, Massachusetts, your neck of the woods. Now, when you first heard this story that they flew a bunch of immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, what was your first impression?
My first impression is that they were taking a bunch of people that crossed illegally through Mexico, that, were trying to get into the state illegally, in the country illegally, and that they were kind of moved to Florida or moved to Texas because there's been some reported actions of people like moving illegals throughout the country, yada, yada, yada. So I thought that's what it was. I thought it was literally 50 illegal immigrants in the country, and that DeSantis just said, F it. I'm just tired of dealing with these problems. I'm going to send it up north where the compassionate liberal states can deal with this issue if they're so compassionate. So that's actually what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So, little bit of a twist in this story, and why don't you explain this, because it's kind of wild.
Yeah. Wow. So I was very skeptical of this story that Ron DeSantis was shipping out the illegals in Florida, and it's like Florida shares 0 inches, 0 centimeters, 0 millimeters, 0 micrometers, 0 nanometers of border with Mexico. So it's like, this is a little weird. But then more information kept coming out. So it turns out that he had some government officials make some fake brochures promising the world to people that were located in another state, in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Now, these are people not from Mexico, but from Venezuela who were in Texas, who were official asylum seekers. They had already put in their applications, awaiting whether they were going to be accepted or denied. So for all intents and purposes, these immigrants were not of the illegal variety, but they were legal to be here. Now, there is a weird caveat that I think that some people on the right want to kind of close this little loophole. But in order to claim asylum here in the United States, you cannot do it from outside the country. You would have to be on American soil to do so. You cannot apply while physically outside the country, which I think is a little weird. Okay.
A lot of the immigration process that we have in the United States is so outdated, where there should be a better system where if someone is truly in a situation where they're under a regime of tyranny and they are worried about their day-to-day life, they should be able to apply or something of that nature in a far more effective manner. But like everything, I feel like government run, it's like 20 years behind the 8 ball.
Maybe, sometimes longer. But at the same time, if somebody's life is in danger today, then they need to leave the danger now, and they can't wait for you to go through the process. Otherwise, they're going to be dead.
Yeah.
So in that way, I kind of get how the system is, but there's a little bit of a loophole. I understand that righties want to close that loophole. I think that the methodology is sound for why they would want to, but I don't think that it's feasible, especially for people who are running for their lives because they're being persecuted politically in their country. But these people were legal. These people were allowed to be here in the United States. And what he did was, under false pretenses, he lured them to Florida and then shipped them to Martha's Vineyard for a fucking photo op so he can be like, yeah, I'm tough on illegal immigration, when we have illegal immigration in the state of Florida for Cubans that come here on rafts. So I just don't understand. And the thing is, you would never hear Ron DeSantis talk shit about a Cuban ever.
But you know why? Is because Cubans are overwhelmingly conservative. They are overwhelmingly conservative, and they're gonna vote a certain way. And nobody listen. Actually, it's funny. Quick, small anecdote. When I was actually down in the Gulf, I literally did see a vessel, or I should say a raft, with Cubans on it coming over. Now, unfortunately, due to maritime law, we could not pick them up.
Right.
It's against federal protocol, and we have to report it to the Coast Guard, because if you don't and they die, that is actually on you. So
right.
it's a maritime distress. It's actually kind of something in the Mediterranean where with certain countries, if people were in really bad countries, they would purposely put a hole in their boat, go towards the middle, where in international water, it is mandatory that you rescue them. So,
yeah, but then again, it's more important that you take out your cell phone so you could get it on World Star when the sharks come from.
Yeah, exactly. But it was kind of one of those things with the Gulf. You have to, it's mandatory report, so then they couldn't go out and because you're on a raft on the Gulf. That's not good. That's just not good. So, but it's just kind of unfortunate that he can see the biases with the Cuban people, but to use asylum seekers that are just trying to better their life. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just like,
I know.
It's just in disbelief, because it's like, let's just ship them up to Martha's fucking Vineyard, where they probably don't even know what that is. Throw them in a community that obviously can't support that, and you throw 50 people in there, and it's weird because I've seen a lot of Republicans or conservative type speakers champion this, saying, "Oh my God, that's an own," and then have we just lost a sense of humanity, where they're human beings, they're not props. Can we just treat them like that? And it's just, I see both parties use human beings as props instead of looking at the situation, instead of being like, oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious. What a pwn. I'm like, dude, you literally just mess with somebody that's trying to better their life. That's not an own. That's not going to ensure that you're going to get elected. Maybe from your base, that's hilarious and going to motivate them more. But it's just from the human side, the human element of this, it's just, sad.
It's crazy. You said that. The thought that came to my mind when you said that? Imagine if there was some sort of mechanical failure on that plane and it crashed and everybody, including the American pilots and crew, died and killed all those people, and then you find out that none of those people were illegals. And you wanted to do that for a fucking stunt. Now, obviously, that didn't happen, right?
Oh,
but
dude,
shit happens all the time, right? And you wanted to lure people under a false pretense so that you can get votes in 2024, because that's really all that's about. He doesn't want to stay governor of Florida.
No,
he's made that pretty clear.
Yeah, he wants to go for presidency. And I'll be honest with you, I could actually see him.
I'm tough on immigration. I'm so tough on immigration, Captain Paul, that I'm getting rid of the illegal immigrants that are not illegal, that are not even in my state. I had to go to another state to get them to come to my state.
It will be interesting to see how this plays out legally, right? So Boston, more liberal. San Antonio, I don't know their local politics, but generally conservative.
They're more red. Austin, Texas is looked at as a purple city.
Right.
But San Antonio, especially their police, that's all red. That's all America there. And if they're looking for legal action against you, that's a fucking problem.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think it's so foolhardy to use human beings as props, but just even from a tactical standpoint, how did you not think this was going to come and brush back against you? I mean, there's going to be people that even if, from both parties, right? If Biden or Santis went out there on a killing spree, they would justify it and still vote for those individual people, right? Because
that goes for Biden, that goes for Trump.
That goes for all parties where you have these fucking crazy people that no, he didn't pull the trigger. It was Satan. It wasn't him. It's just, you have people that are just woohoo fucking out there to lunch.
Wasn't it Trump himself that said that he can go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue here in New York? He said he could go right on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and it would still be all right with his base.
I don't know. I don't want to make a. I have no idea about that quote. I don't even know if that's true, because unfortunately we live in an era where people will just,
you're not really sure, right?
People will just write something, quote it, and say Trump or Biden, and they never even ever uttered that. So I don't want to substantiate that one unless we kind of come forth with it. But I mean, like, this is a sad situation. You know, these are people just trying to better their lives and stuff like this. And, you know, it's not like I'm coming off here as some soft liberal. This is a human being aspect, man. Like, they're just trying to better their life, trying to do better, and trying to get out of a terrible situation. And if they've already got asylum status, they're here legally.
Yeah, right? So this was a quote, a direct quote. He says, I could shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters. Yo, so this is the full let me pull this up for our viewers so they know that I'm not bullshitting. Because I knew I remembered this shit, but you know, it is what it is, right? So it turns out, he says, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, Trump remarked at a campaign stop at Dordt College in Sioux Center, Iowa. It's like incredible. Wow. I knew I remembered that shit, but I wasn't sure if it was one of those things that somebody projected onto him. That motherfucker said that shit like directly, yo.
That's
crazy, yo.
He's saying he can catch bodies and nobody gives a fuck. But
it's kind of true, right? It's kind of true, because if you look at like how people have approached Donald Trump when he's kind of at least brushed up against like the legal limits.
Yeah.
You got conservative politicians saying, well, I'm not saying that he didn't break the law. I'm just saying that we should change the law so he didn't break it. And I'm like,
I feel like that happens with pretty much every political party. Just even coming down to some of the unethical drone strikes that happened under Obama. It's one of those things. Parties will champion their person. Yeah, and they will just look out all the moral terrible things. But that's pretty much all I got to say here is that at the end of the day, these are human beings. Whether if you're right, left, center, fucking up, north, south, whatever, you have to look at it this way. He displaced 50 people for a political stunt, used them as a prop to go to Martha's Vineyard, essentially putting them in a community where, it's Martha's fucking Vineyard. It's an island. You're putting them in there in a situation on the Cape Cod, which, for a lot of reasons, unless you're there for vacationing, isn't great to live. You're putting them in an area that it's not going to be conducive to success. What are you truly putting them in Martha's Vineyard for? Honestly, it's not for the betterment of them. It's not for them to get a better life. You're using them as a mocking tool to show that you are, like you said, evil, hard on immigration, which is a laughingstock at best, because we both just discussed they let Cubans in here illegally, right? And maybe you can have a discussion that it's different because it's a communist regime, yada, yada, yada. But they still do let people with certain political leanings in this country with no problem. Especially, or I should say, in their state with no problem. So, I think we need to, as a human race in the United States, look at things and be like, maybe that would be kind of ha 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 ha, but is it like morally correct? Is that appropriate?
Right. I think another thing that they were trying to accomplish with this stunt is they wanted to expose the liberals for being the ethical frauds that they tend to be sometimes. So what they wanted to do was they wanted to send, you hear the liberals talk about, loving minorities and women and alternative sexualities and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you guys say that you love them, right? Well, let me send some over to you to be closer to you since you love them so much. And they figured that they would show that these people don't really love you either, which I do think that they succeeded in somewhat, because from what I understand, the people were treated well while they were there. They just weren't allowed to stay there very long.
Yeah, they got him out after a few hours. Like, get it.
They did the photo op, and then got him the fuck out of there.
Like a prize trophy. Like, yeah, like it's
that's foul. You want to talk about a hot take, but that's also a cold truth, man.
Yeah, like a hot, like, yeah, I love you. Get the fuck off my island. But it's just,
man.
But like, I think when it kind of comes down to it is, I'm not spitting anything that's wrong, because I saw in some Facebook groups, and this is because I live in the area locally, people were fighting with each other. You have a couple properties to lit. He's like, I'm not letting them in my property. So it is funny, and these are the same people about love and inclusion. So I'm not going to put anyone's personal stuff on blast. I'm just saying I saw some stuff that was very hilarious, especially since they're liberal. So, I mean, we are, like you said, man, we're the king of the hot takes and the cold truths here.
Yeah, so, if you want some more of these cold truths and hot takes, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share the videos with your friends so they can join the debate, because we talking some shit over here on TSP. We'll catch you in the next one.